Alrighty. So as you all know, you received an email for our commercial demonstration. We do this every month. Folks ask us, how do you choose the projects that go into the commercial demonstration? Our affiliates or owners or corporations will typically say, hey, IncentiFind, we'd really like to see this type of asset in this part of the country. Do you have that? And based on whoever reaches out or popular demand, that's what we decide to feature. So I'll show you which projects we're going to go over today. One's in New York, one is a municipality in Texas. Both required to be highly anonymized, so I will have to be quite careful on some of the project details. And I hope that you can see my level of confidentiality will also be used on any of your projects should they come up for one of our case studies. If you want to put a face to a name, that's me, Natalie Goodman. You can see founder, recovering architect. So that's my background. I began my career at NASA Johnson Space Center. I helped to green that campus. Went on to work in the Texas Medical Center. That's the world's largest medical center. Did one-of-a-kind laboratories there. Also incorporated green measures into those specialized laboratories. After that, I went and did sustainability consulting work for Department of Defense, Johnson & Johnson, Shell Real Estate. So you can see my common thread has always been incorporating sustainable measures into commercial assets, no matter how complex or simple those assets are. And the reasons for that are pretty obvious. It's the industry we're all in, which is, owners understand that by going green in their particular assets, not only are they meeting their ESG goals, environmental sustainability goals, but they're also increasing the value of that asset, right? They're reducing the ongoing operating expenditures such as electric and water bills. And further, if they have tenants, they're able to attract and retain tenants better with a healthier building. So for all of those reasons, I have over 12 years of experience in greening commercial assets. Now, I mentioned that you all, should you come on with a single project or multiple projects as an affiliate, or perhaps you're a building owner, you're going to meet Grace Bennett. She runs all things commercial at IncentiFind. So without further ado, Grace, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Natalie. Good morning, everyone. My name is Grace Bennett. You can see there, I'm the commercial lead here with IncentiFind. My background, I'll give you a little rundown of my background. Went to school, got an education in urban planning and design. Got a minor in environmental sustainability, and that's kind of where my passion took off. I spent some time with CBRE working for a large account here. And that was basically being on their energy and sustainability team, looking at their facilities nationwide, trying to implement the fun stuff like solar, electric vehicles, waste diversion, stuff like that. So spent some years with the corporate real estate world, and then kind of switched gears and went to work for the utility. So that's where I kind of gained all my knowledge in the incentive world, if you will. So I was there connecting customers and contractors, just kind of helping them with the process and running them through how you get those rebates and how those rebates work. So it's just a little bit of my background. So
yeah, thanks, Grace. And I'll show you guys here in a second at what point in the process you get to meet Grace, why she engages on every single one of our projects. We love our technology, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing like having someone who has made it their career to apply incentives to projects, having them do your last scrub before sending you what we call our verify report. And again, I'm going to go through all of that here in a second. So I always like to recap our maze projects. So if you missed our last demo, we covered, we had a lot of folks asking if they could see a senior housing new construction. So you can see we did our New Jersey project. There's our 3-step process. And I'm going to dive into that here in a second. So this senior housing submitted a search survey. We showed them they were in a very healthy incentive landscape offering. Of the 84 incentives offered just for this particular commercial building, they were eligible for 23 incentives. Of those 23, and we'll talk about why not not all owners and affiliates will go after all 23 incentives. It doesn't always make sense to do that. And Grace will help you decipher, what to go after, what not to. But because they were eligible for 23 incentives, they spoke with Grace and decided that 3 were going to be plenty. And I think you can see that the particular owner walked away pretty happy with their cash reimbursements, especially on the energy efficiency. The water conservation was only that low because it was capped. The program was capped at that amount, right? And then we'll also talk about how we can connect your owners to our tax incentives as well. We also got asked to show a house of worship in California. This happened to be an existing building, so this was an upgrade. Same thing, here's our 3-step process, right? And so you can see a healthy incentive landscape offering, eligible for 25. They talked with Grace, decided 3 were gonna be plenty to go after, and you can see what each one of those represents as far as incentives back to that owner. So our verify reports cost $500. That's this step right here. And on average, we can provide our owners and affiliates with 100x return on investment in the form of incentives. So it's a pretty good average we're pretty proud of. So I had mentioned that I wanted to go over some low-cost building trends. Remember, we see projects around the nation from affiliates, owners, developers, those that run portfolios, facility managers, you name it, property managers as well. So we get to see a lot of different projects in a lot of different places. Here's what we're seeing, and sure enough, you don't have to just take our word for it. Energy Star also put out a similar article that echoes what we were saying. That a lot of our owners, especially if they're if their assets are commercial offices, right? So Class C to AA or what have you, they're limiting the office capacity by rotating staff. So a lot of our owners are coming to IncentiFind or their affiliates and saying, look, we might be needing some control type incentives, right? We have a more dynamic load because we're rotating the staff. So it's affecting the energy load overall, or they might be looking to now take advantage of that load management program or energy demand response program, right? We're seeing that a lot of owners, when they were considering and looking at flushing out air and water systems before re-entry, they began to examine and also realize that HVAC or water system might need an upgrade, right? So it has brought a substantial, or an audit as well. I know we've been seeing a lot of projects coming in asking for certain audits. The other thing we've been seeing is anywhere that an owner can go touchless, they want to. Right now, the biggest ones are going to be installing automated fixtures in the bathrooms. We do have incentives for those, so please know that you can find those in our database, as well as touchless entry or smart building technology. We see this a lot on our medical office buildings as well as other types of office settings. So I think we're also going to see it in our multifamilies. We have 3 projects, I think, that are right now in our database that are looking at that. So anywhere that an owner can go touchless, they're now looking at that. And our incentive programs are adjusting to help owners create this more healthy environment. Other thing we're seeing is that owners are wanting to bring in more outside air. They want more stringent filtering systems. So you can see MERV 13. The higher the MERV level, we know it's going to affect energy use, right? Also, extending those HVAC hours, or in addition to upgrading the filters and letting in more outside air, this is the type of increase we're seeing on energy uses. So owners are looking to make that up in other energy efficient measures, load management programs, demand response, you name it. And so our database can help you convey additional cost savings that can make up for some of these low-cost building capital improvement projects that we're seeing across the nation. All right, here is an update. I put this on our last webinar, and I'm gonna hit it again because I know Grace, her research team, and her apply fulfillment team, they have been seeing this nationwide, especially in the larger utilities, as well as more populous states and cities. But as states begin to look at reopening, right? They are laser focusing on their economic road to recovery being a green one. So what are they doing with that? Well, they're putting out certain mandates. As you can see here, the city of St. Louis pushed to have building owners make improvements to reduce their energy use, right? This is a mandate. This is not a plan. They are now going to have to do that. We see other states and cities putting out plans of action to focus on their economic road to recovery being a green one. So really promoting more energy efficient jobs, renewables jobs. Our utility companies are seeing this, and they are pumping more money into our utility rebate program. So we have seen an increase in funding. We've also seen a ton of leniencies in the utility program. So I wouldn't say on the eligibility side, but on how you capture the incentive, or perhaps there's just additional funding overall so they can take on more projects later on this year. Grace, anything you think I should add to that, or do you think I covered it pretty well?
No, I think you covered it. You hit the high points.
Awesome. Excellent. So I think the big takeaway here, folks, is that you can rely on IncentiFind, like lots of our owners and developers and affiliates do, as just juggling all of these changes that are happening. And we're that resource you can come to, put in a 2-minute survey, and our team has already spoken with the utility to get all the new requirements and other updates. So for those of you, this is your first time on this type of webinar or engaging with IncentiFind, let me just take a step back and tell you who we are, what we do, and how we do it, right? So we have a big number 4 birthday coming up in July, but despite being 4 years old, we are one of the fastest growing real estate technology startups here in Texas, so pretty proud of that, and it's because we are focused on building this incredibly comprehensive, easy to understand and take advantage of real estate incentive database, right? We do it for all 50 states. I'll show you what the more than 12,000 incentives look like here in a second. And our goal is the same goal you have if you're on the phone and maybe you serve owners, right? Or if you're an owner, we have the same goal in the sense that we want to identify as many cost savings for that new construction project or that upgrade to your building that you had planned on doing anyways. The incentive programs were created to help you overcome the costs associated with this, and we want to be that clearinghouse for you guys. We are based or headquartered in Houston, but our team is all over the country. Grace happens to sit in Kansas City. I'm talking to you from Houston, Texas, and the rest of our team is just kind of spread out all over the country, but we operate virtually. I think this is important, especially during this time of COVID, because it has been business as usual for IncentiFind. It just happens to be how we were structured. So a lot of this virtual working didn't affect us, which means we can continue to serve you guys without having to juggle brand new operating procedures, right? A lot of folks will ask us, okay, of the 12,000 incentives in your database, well, how much money does that actually represent, and how many projects are even eligible for those incentives? So we like to always show this demand and supply and demand slide, right? So on this side, we worked with Department of Energy and said, okay, of the incentives that are associated with that particular level of government, what dollar amount could you guys put to that that's offered at least minimum every single year? So they came up with at least $10 billion. So we know that our database at a minimum has $10 billion available for property owners nationwide. For the projects that are looking to get connected to this $10 billion, we worked with United States Green Building Council, Energy Star Portfolio Manager, and several others that report their green projects publicly to tabulate that there's about 1 million green projects that happen around the country. Again, this is a minimum because we all know that just because a project can still be green if it doesn't get certified, right? Sometimes projects will say, you know, I wish I could get certified, but we're going to use that as our goal setting for the building and the design systems. So again, these are minimum numbers. If you take away anything from today's conversation, please know that IncentiFind to date is the only database to connect those 1 million green projects to the $10 billion in incentives. And we do this using a quick 2-minute survey. I'm going to show you guys that today. So for our database, what do we house? We get asked this a lot. Best way to look at it from a commercial real estate standpoint is to know that first and foremost, our database is bifurcated. The incentives available for new construction are not the same for existing buildings. The other thing to note is what's in yellow. Outside of getting asked, well, what's in your database? It's how do I know if my project or my owner even qualifies? Easiest thing is, if your project is achieving any level of certification, even going into Energy Star Portfolio Manager, yes, that project's eligible for incentives in our database. But let's say you weren't achieving any level of certification. The reality is your project more than likely is eligible for something in our database. Why is that? Well, most products on the market today, the manufacturers want those products to stay on the shelves longer, right? They also want to be able to sell those products across all 50 states. So they'll look at the most stringent state building code, create a product that's above that, and to ensure that it stays on the shelves longer. So accidentally, most of your commercial projects, just based on the products that they're installing, whether it's energy products, water products, or renewables products, they are more than likely eligible for any of the incentives you see here in our database. So let's dig in a little more. For energy efficiency, we get asked, okay, so you're a lighting rebate database. No, we look at all things related to the energy system. That's load management programs, demand response, cogenerational systems, controls, building envelope, cool roof. I could go on and on. Anything that deals with energy use in a building, there could be an incentive for that, depending on where you are in the country and what kind of products your project's installing. For renewables, majority of the time it's going to be related to solar. That just happens to be the incentive offering. But we have seen geothermal, we have seen wind offerings as well. Water conservation, I know that Grace and I have our eyes on this particular category. I'm not a betting person, but if I was, I would say that water conservation will surpass renewables in incentive offerings because a lot of your drought-prone states and cities are stepping up to say we have got to address water conservation on our commercial projects. So we've seen a substantial amount of really lucrative programs available around the country. The last thing to look at is not just that IncentiFind is a holistic database across all systems, right? But even the land that a building can reside on. So you can see the economic development incentives for existing buildings and the economic development incentives for new construction, right? Yes, this does include electric vehicle charge stations. It does include PACE eligible areas, which is nothing more than a specialized financing mechanism. It's not offered everywhere in the country, but if it's in your area, we'll tell you about it. It is quite favorable to quote unquote green projects, right? We do house resilience incentives. I think this will become its own category in our database because so many incentives are being created for flooding, for hurricane proofing, fire proofing, any sort of extreme weather, drought, heat, you name it, a lot of incentives are being created. And then smart building technology, I think this will begin to take on a category of its own, especially with the push towards touchless products used across all commercial assets. The incentive categories at the bottom, you can see are going to be tax, grants, fee waivers, rebates, bill credits. I'm not going to lie, majority of them are going to be tax or rebates. That just happens to be how our government-backed programs issue a lot of these incentives. But we have seen some pretty decent grants, fee waivers, and bill credits. So next month, we're going to rerun all of the assets that we see come into IncentiFind. Again, this is a national preview. But I ran these statistics on March 31st. So it was the end of that quarter, but it was also really as COVID was taking off. So I went ahead and had a look at our database analytics for the commercial asset types in our database. And they're still echoing this. So for new construction projects, asset types that we're seeing really stay nice and steady, even with COVID, are your industrial assets, senior housing, multifamily 200 units and above, medical office building, master plan communities. If we see additional trends, we'll add them here. For existing buildings, we're seeing medical office buildings really peaking, industrial warehouse, that also logistics, manufacturing, multifamily of all sizes. For the retail and franchises, this does happen to be convenience store or grocery store specific, FYI. And then the offices, Class C to AA. We're also seeing an uptick in K-12 and higher ed as most universities and schools are really thinking about how to open up this fall. So now that you've seen our database and what's in it, you're probably wondering, how do I even engage? Where do I start? We have a three-step process at IncentiFind. It's quite intuitive. You'll probably wonder, why am I going through in detail a three-step process? I think it's good to familiarize why we have our three-step process, what happens at each one of these stages, and what exactly are you on the hook for, whether you're a developer, owner, or perhaps someone serving them. So, folks will come to us and say, IncentiFind, I have an apartment complex. It's new construction and it's in California. What do I do? Well, go ahead and sign up on our website and fill out a search survey. Our search survey is incredibly smart in the sense that as you identify what your role is, what your asset type is, the questions will adjust to only ask at a minimum what's necessary to verify your eligibility, right? Folks will also come in and say, IncentiFind, I have a portfolio of assets. They're retail assets. What do I do? Grab one of those assets in the portfolio. Doesn't matter which one, just pick one. Fill out a search survey on it. You will see there's a section that asks, is this part of a portfolio? When you answer yes, more questions will adjust. So our team will know if you're submitting an apartment complex or a portfolio. Folks will also come to us and say, I have a master plan community IncentiFind. What should I do? Same thing. Go to our website, fill out a search survey. There's a question on there that says, are you part of a master plan community? Follow the questions. It's quite, simple to follow all the questions associated with whatever your responses are. And the other thing we get is, I have a corporate campus IncentiFind. Again, what should I do? You guys can now understand what I'm going to say next. Everything starts with a search survey. The survey is smart. It knows what to ask you, so that it should still only take you 2 minutes to fill out, but it's enough to where our team can get to work. This is where Grace lives, right? She lives right here in Verify. So once you submit your survey, our database automatically will clean it up, but it's going to give it to Grace. Why is that? We don't want to solely rely on our technology. We trust our technology. It's fantastic, but it's missing the human element, which is all of the historic projects, as well as Grace's experience. And then, you add in other nuances like COVID to that, right? She and her team can look at your survey response, what our system delivered to her, and she can begin to say, well, you know what? We've actually seen other projects go with this incentive. I'm going to insert that. She might say, you know what? This incentive has had a very low record of utilization and success rate. I'm going to go ahead and pull that and not waste their time. She does a great job of making sure that whatever is delivered to you for your Verify report, again, that verifies your eligibility, it comes to you, and it is truly a list of incentives we think you can realistically go after, either as an affiliate, or you can hand it over to your owner and that owner can go after some of those. Notice the fee here is per building. So if you've got that master plan community, the corporate campus, or the portfolio, we do give discounts. So just know that the pricing will show up as you fill out your search survey. You're not going to be surprised about what to pay. We show you right there on the search survey. If you come in with a medical office building or even an apartment complex with 13 buildings on the complex, it's just $500. This is nationwide. It doesn't matter how big, where it's located, how complex, $500 fee. A lot of our affiliates and owners like that because it's an easy budgeting measure. The last step that I'll show you is once Grace shows you what you are eligible for and talks you through the good, the bad, the ugly for the programs, how easy they are to go after, what makes sense for your project, she'll actually give you an estimate so that you understand what you can take advantage of. And then you get to choose whether or not you go on to our apply services. Right now, we've got like a 98% conversion rate. So most people go on to use our apply services. It's pretty rare that someone would buy a Verify report and not want IncentiFind to take the mess of applying to all the incentives off of their back. So for the affiliates on the line, these would be non-building owners, non-developers on the phone. Just want to kind of make a quick side note that our products, remember, our products are our Verify reports, offer value add. The quick summary is not eligible to you guys, but the Verify report, the portfolio reviews, the master plan communities reports, those are all available to you as digital products. Those are value add. They help a lot of our affiliates justify the products they're speccing, sell additional services. So maybe that extra energy audit, maybe that LEED certification, right? It helps to really justify additional products, sales of additional products or services. So our products provide that value add, and our services, the only service we offer is our apply services. They offer rev share. A lot of our affiliates are very relieved to hear about the rev share. And I'll talk about owners, developers online. This doesn't mean that we dig into more of our fee. We actually maintain our 25% fee. We just share a cut of this 25% with our affiliates. But a lot of our affiliates are very relieved to hear not only that we do the apply fulfillment services, that we offer that rev share. What does that mean? It means that for those affiliates, if you're listening and you think, well, I think I got a handle on my rebate program, I think we can do this. And plus, if we give this to IncentiFind, we might, lose out on the opportunity to take advantage of some of those rebate dollars. The answer is no. We'll share those with you. It's your relationship that you're bringing to IncentiFind. We're happy to share our 25% contingency fee that we take from the rebates with you. What does that look like? Here, oh, this is a little pixelated, but here's what that rev share looks like. If you're interested in this, if you're an affiliate, so architect, engineer, general contractor, property manager, facility manager, you name it. If you're on the line, energy auditor, and you think you might be interested in our affiliate program, there's no contract to sign. Just send me an email. I'll give you my email at the end of this webinar. Let me know you're interested. We hop on a 30-minute call, change your role on the platform, and you can take advantage of this program. So just want to note, Q1, we were able to connect our owners to about 12 million. This was just rebate dollars only. So you can imagine how much of that we get to share with our affiliates. All right. So June's projects, this is what we got asked to demo today. And I think these are really interesting projects. Both are affected by COVID. So we will dive into as much detail as we're allowed to. So let's have a look at our New York City office upgrade. This particular project came to us through one of our affiliates. They do lighting and energy services. This was for a large corporate client. They had several floors within a Class AA building. Hadn't been touched for 15 years. Their tenant lease was up, and this particular large corporation said, you know what, we're going to make some capital improvements to our space. We have no plans of going anywhere, and perhaps we can use the LED upgrade and HVAC controls as a way to renegotiate our tenant lease. By the way, IncentiFind sees a lot of that. So the affiliate entered the search survey. Remember, everything starts with a search survey. We were quickly able to show that affiliate who passed it on to their owner to say, look, you're in a very healthy incentive offering and landscape. We would like to run a $500 report. It's going to have a minimum 10x ROI on average. IncentiFind sees, 100x ROI, but we'd like to run a $500 report on your behalf to see what you're eligible for. Is that okay? The owner said yes. Grace quickly was able to put together that report based on her experience and saw that the project was eligible for 14 incentives. And she did about a 1-hour call with the installer. I don't think the owner was on the phone, but they culled those 14 incentives down to 2. And you can see these 2 incentives here. So let's talk about these incentives real quick. The report and project went in before COVID had even really sunk into New York. So right around the time of the LED lighting installation, they were about halfway through, COVID hits. Everyone ends up leaving the office to go work virtually based on this corporation's mandate. And the lighting installer was able to really crank it up, quickly button it up, finish that lighting install. So we anticipate those rebate dollars going back to the owner and affiliate. But we didn't get in there for the controls. So this project actually is sat parked as far as a controls aspect. They were able, again, finish their lighting, had to park those controls because the entire city was shut down, right? So now that New York, just like many other cities and states, is slowly reawakening, we are going to go back into this verify report, and I'll talk about how these reports stay open, live, and continually updating for 24 months. But we're going to dive back into that report and look at how to address these controls. The reason why there's 2 differences in monies here is because, remember, at the beginning of this, I told you a lot of utility programs have increased the amount of funding available, right? They've also increased provided more leniencies. So there's a chance an owner could take advantage of additional monies out there, unless the utility company decides to cap them at a lower amount. So we're excited to see what we can come back and provide this particular owner with. But again, just to go back to my previous slide, is that Grace's research team has been working round the clock to grab all of these brand new COVID increases in funds and nuances and make sure that they're reflected in all the verify reports that will be delivered or that have been delivered. So let's jump on to the Texas Municipality. We unfortunately can't say which city this is in because the construction, when the shovel was supposed to go in the ground, is right when COVID went into full swing. So like a lot of our projects, the construction timetable has been delayed. We anticipate that it can go into the ground, hopefully, we think in the fall timeframe, once the city is done addressing, some major issues on reopening, a lot of other services. So the particular owner's representative, one of our affiliates, brought this project to us, filled out a search survey, and we were able to identify that even though it's tax exempt, there's a lot of incentive programs available for this type of asset in this part of Texas. Of those 161 incentives, you can see that the municipality was eligible for 17 different incentive programs. But again, just because you're eligible for it doesn't mean you're going to go after it. So don't forget, this is where Grace lives, and you can have that 1-hour call with her where she's going to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. She's going to say, what do you plan to realistically do on this project? What are the specifications? What are the quantities? Based on that, she will tell you, based on her experience, which incentive programs are the easiest to go after, have a high success rate, and have the most lucrative offering, right? That's what her job is on this. So out of the 17, they considered 3, and you can see those broken down over here. So lots of great things that a municipality, most people would have thought they're tax exempt, what could possibly be out there? There's quite a bit. So we are happy to say that this new construction project will benefit from these. So sorry, I'm trying to escape and talk at the same time. Usually at this point, I like to just go into a report. So let me do that. There we go. So on my screen, you should be seeing the IncentiFind website. I usually tell folks, and have no shame in doing it, you can go there now. As long as you're listening in the background, you can follow my instructions. So go to IncentiFind.com. If you haven't already done so already, click that sign up and go ahead and register. We have you guys do this because we don't sell information to third parties. So your search surveys stay completely confidential to your account and your account only. So let's just pretend you are one of many people in your company and you're all submitting search surveys. We get asked, well, can I see Joe or Sally's search surveys? No, it is all specific to your account. So sign up, let's put some protection around any of the search surveys that you submit. It's also going to be where you have your verify report posted, and it's going to be where you see your apply dashboard should you elect for any of those services. So everything lives at IncentiFind.com. All right, so after you sign up, you will go to, keep in mind you're in my admin view, but you'll have a lot less options up here, but you'll hit search because that's the first step in our process. And you'll hit I have a project, and up will pop our search survey, right? And it's pretty simple. We always recommend using IncentiFind.com on a desktop. It's just, there's a lot of information and almost too much information to be really mobile friendly. And you know, as far as iPad usage, I feel like more people are just teetering between smartphone and desktop. So we really don't have a lot of tablet display friendliness, right? So the first question is pretty cut and dry. It's going to ask your role. Yes, depending on your role, there are completely different incentives available. And we do have tenant-specific incentives, as you just saw on that New York project. We're going to also ask not just the role of the owner of the building, but what your role is on the project. We want to make sure we're always aligning to you if you are not the owner or developer. Obviously, any owners and developers listening will communicate directly to you, but let's say you're coming from an architecture firm, engineering, or one of these others. We want to make sure we're talking to you first, and so you don't feel like we're going to go and talk to your customer on your behalf without any say-so. So let us know who you are so we can align to how you do business. We're going to ask you which stage is your project. Bidding process, this is as critical as demoing. Construction may have started. The only time that it's bad to come to IncentiFind, and we tell folks, is if you've already demoed and you had existing equipment that you were upgrading. Come to us before that is demoed. Give us 30 days before you start your demo. If you're a new construction project, ideally, we would like to get with you before you put a shovel in the ground. But technically, as long as you're not right at that certificate of occupancy, we can work with you. So again, coming to us at bottom of the ninth, the worst time to come to IncentiFind is, oops, we already demoed. We're done with our project. Or, you know, we've got that certificate of occupancy a year ago. So nothing is retroactive in the incentive world. All incentives do require some sort of pre-approval, and that pre-approval has to typically be before demo starts, before certificate of occupancy, you know, before a certain milestone. That's why we're telling you that. We'll ask you about your financing. This is only because IncentiFind works with thousands of lenders nationwide. A lot of these lenders want to help green projects. We don't get a cut of this. Lenders have come to us, and since we know majority of projects don't go forward because of financing, we're happy to connect you or your owner to one of these lenders. And it's a simple email connection. We don't get involved. We don't negotiate any sort of rates. We'll ask when your building's constructed, and notice if you start hitting certain age of building, we'll start asking if it's historic. If it is, are you on the historic registry? This is what I meant by our search survey is really intelligent and knows what to ask. We'll ask what kind of building you have. Most of buildings are on this list, so you should be able to find it. We'll ask how big it is. That is pretty helpful as far as determining eligibility in the incentive world. And then we'll, most people will select all, honestly, unless they know for sure this is just, you know, a lighting project or a controls project. But here's where you're going to find energy efficiency, indoor and outdoor, miscellaneous, such as cogenerational systems. There's your renewable. There's some resilience incentives, right? Water conservation, indoor, outdoor, and some others, such as affordable housing. Maybe you're really keen to see that economic development, electric vehicles. Maybe you're going after a LEED program. So we've got some really neat incentive programs in the other category. This is just a marketing question. Like I said, 98% of projects do move forward for our apply services. So hit yes if you want us to follow up. Hit no if you don't. We're happy to help, however. Put a name for your project. A lot of folks will ask, what do you mean by this? Tell us the name of the apartment complex. Our team loves to use the same nomenclature you do, so that all our email correspondence, how you see your project on your dashboard, has the same name and how you use it in your everyday with your team, right? So tell us that project name so we can get aligned to you guys. Your full and complete address is needed. This is super easy if you're an existing building. We get a lot of questions. Well, what if I'm a new construction project and I don't have an address yet, right? You might have the land parcel, but there may not be a physical address. That's okay. Grab the closest address. Maybe it's a convenience store across the street, the church down the street. Doesn't matter. Get as close to that land parcel as you can. Just make sure it is a complete address. We use a Google overlay. This will get kicked back to you if it's not complete. If you're an existing building, it's super easy to tell us which utility providers you have. If you're new construction, it's okay. Just put NA or unknown, whatever works for you. We've got a process in which we can determine that. This is just marketing. And again, construction start date and completion date. Those are big things for how we align to the utility company requirements or other government-backed incentive programs, their requirements. And if you're an affiliate, maybe you're filling out this application, a survey on behalf of your owner. Go ahead and put their name and email address there. No, we're not going to email them. Why would you do that? If you want to send them search results, if you want them to also be able to see your verify report, so that we're not coordinating that later on, we go ahead and have you do that right here. So you hit submit, and you've just completed this step. Now, you just hang tight. Remember, this step should take you 2 minutes. While it took me a while to talk through it, you should zap through that pretty quickly. You sit tight because Grace is going to reach back out to you after you hit submit. And when she does, she's going to say, okay, Sally or Joe, your verify report's ready and I've posted it to your account. And here's what a verify report looks like. First, it's going to be a digital link on your account. We recommend do not print it out. If you want to email it, because I'm in example mode, you can't see it. Typically, there's a green button here that says share. Click share. A specialized hyperlink will come up specific to that verify report, and you can share it with your owner. If you're an owner, you can share it with your design team. It doesn't matter. We're not going to tell you or cut you off on the ability to share that report. But she will also have you, or recommend that you set up a 1-hour call with her. Why is that? Because you're probably going to want someone to walk you through all of these incentives, right? The good, the bad, the ugly. Which one do I go after? Which one's right for my project? Which one can cover the most of the energy services that we're providing, the energy equipment that we're doing? I really recommend taking advantage of a call with Grace. So again, this report's going to be posted to your account. It's going to be open for 24 months. You'll have a button that allows you to share. You'll have the ability to go over it with Grace. We're going to remind you what you even put in your search survey. Yes, people forget, so we'll put it all right there. And then this is going to be your roadmap. So remember, we have 5 levels of government. There they are: federal, state, county, city, utility. Why are you seeing something that says none? It's to indicate for you and your owner that we have checked. Our database absolutely scrubs into the details at all levels. And if there is not an incentive offered, we want to close that window and let you know we have checked. In the future, should a program open up, you'll also know, we'll be the first ones to know that, right? So Grace will walk through each one of these. Notice they're all hyperlinks. So when you click them, they go to details below. If you're an owner listening, this is a great detail for your design team. If you're an affiliate, an architect, engineer, contractor, someone that's on the energy consulting side, this is where you live, right? We're going to tell you everything that it takes to be eligible, right? Even the equipment, there's a lot of information in here. If you don't want to read it in this quick little table style, that's okay. Click this hyperlink, will take you directly to the program and all of its detail. We even give you contacts, right? The latest contacts that are available for that incentive program. This is the owner's favorite column, and it should be. He or she typically like to know, fine, what can I actually get for this incentive program, right? So we've got the max funds there. And remember, based on what you provide to Grace in both the search survey as well as specs and quantities, she can even run an estimate for you. That is included in your Verify report fee. We'll also help manage expectations. This is great if you're a potential affiliate. This is great for your owner. If you're an owner that has to answer to a board or etc., this is also really great in the sense that you can quickly know, I've got to use a preferred vendor or contractor. Are they on that list? We can send you that list and make sure they're on there. If pre-approval is required, remember, we work against certain milestone dates. Certificate of occupancy is a great example of one. You don't want to come to us at the bottom of the ninth. If a pre-inspection is required, we are seeing a lot of alternatives for this for COVID, and just know that we have all the alternatives in our database. Grace's research team has done this for hundreds of utilities across the nation. If a post-audit is required, we'll also tell you average time to apply, when the owner can expect the check. Again, all things an owner's going to ask, right? And then the next steps to capture. Maybe you're one of these firms that does a lot of the apply fulfillment in-house. Just know that you don't have to use our apply services. You can buy our report, follow the steps here, and do the apply services on your own. Again, 98% choose to have us do it because it is a messy process. So if you wanted that, or your owner wanted that, you just click that button and it will tell our system, well, hey, IncentiFind, Joe Smith on this project elected for incentive number 4 for IncentiFind's apply services, and our apply fulfillment team will be in touch. It's really simple. So again, this is your Verify report. Each one of these is detailed for you to determine that eligibility. Grace will provide that estimate for you, and then you get to choose either with your owner or, to the best of your knowledge, how you want to go on to get help applying. The last thing I want to note is that before we open up for some Q&A, is that we do have some tax incentives. Forgive me while I just scroll. There we go. We do have some tax related incentives. IncentiFind does rebates in-house. We are not allowed to do tax incentives in-house. We're just not structured that way. So anytime it's something we can't do in-house, you just click the Get Connected button, and we will coordinate, our apply fulfillment team will coordinate an email between our subject matter expert and your owner at that point, right? And obviously an affiliate cannot take advantage of tax incentives for the owner of the property. And so we're happy to take that off your hands or your owner's hands and make sure that still before the owner is connected to the subject matter expert, all of their expectations have been managed. Last thing we get asked, do we estimate tax incentives? No, again, we're not allowed to. If we were a financial advisory firm, that might be a different story, but we're not. What we do provide estimates are on utility programs or non-tax related programs at any of the other levels of government. So right now you saw our 3-step process. You saw our search survey. We showed you how to sign up, how to fill out a survey, what each one of those questions means. Remember, that's going to live on your profile, your free search results. If you want to show your owner, or if you're an owner, if you want to show your board that you're in a good incentive landscape offering, you can go to your profile and see those search results. You saw a Verify report. You know that it lives on your profile, that it's open for 24 months. There's a share button that you can share it unlimitedly with anyone on the project. You saw the Help Apply button and the Get Connected buttons, how easy it is to take advantage of our apply services. Everything lives on your IncentiFind.com profile, including your apply dashboard. We typically don't have time to go over that one, but just know that it's kind of like a verify report. It's just a quick dashboard that shows every single incentive that was elected, where it is in the process. So, you know, application is being reviewed in order to be submitted. Okay, application has been submitted. Application is now under review by utility company. Application has been approved. It will show this wonderful little timeline of events for each incentive. So there's no guessing or picking up the phone to call IncentiFind and say, where is my application again? My owner's asking me, or my board is asking me. It's all right there at IncentiFind.com. If you are listening and you are an owner or an affiliate, we do highly recommend getting an NDA or a confidentiality agreement signed. Again, we don't sell to third parties anyways, but it's just a good, one of our best practices that we like to make sure that you guys know about. And then remember that Get Connected button. Whenever you get connected and your owner takes advantage of connecting to one of our tax experts, you know, or any one of our subject matter experts, they should know outside of that email connection, anyone in our SME or subject matter expert, you know, bench, they have signed up for a free 1-hour call to educate the owner on why that tax incentive is good for their project or why not. So a lot of owners, we encourage you to take advantage of that Get Connected button. Don't just see it as a volley to a tax firm. We really want to make sure that while we can't advise you on tax incentives, we can certainly leverage wonderful relationships to educate you. This is the slide I'm going to leave up while I go and turn on the Q&A. Real quick, just notice there's my HubSpot link there. If you want to type that's my personal calendar. So you can book me anytime and it'll show you what my availability is. Also, my email's there. And then if you are a first-time user of IncentiFind, our system will pick up on that and say, oh, hey, you're actually eligible for a pilot project, which just means that instead of assessing the $500 fee right away on that, in order for you to see the verify report, we'll give you a sneak peek, talk you through it. And then if you end up using it, which again, most people do, then you can pay that fee. Again, that's only applicable to our first time users. And it's just to kind of wet your feet, get you used to IncentiFind. Okay, oops, I have some. Do any of the incentives run out of money before the year ends? Yes, lots of them. I know that Grace's research team, now that they're getting a better handle on COVID related leniencies and additional funds, the next question we're asking is, are there going to be changes to closing dates? And you know, how is that going to affect all of this additional money that's in these coffers? So we're really trying to get ahead of that question. So it's a good question. In my opinion, because so many projects have been affected by COVID, we have not seen our usual utility programs running out of money like they usually do at this time of the year. Okay, if there are 10 billion unclaimed, does that indicate there's typically incentives available at all? Yes, there are incentives that are available at all times of the year. Sometimes these are utility incentives. Sometimes these are tax incentives. But there are incentive programs that are available at all times of the year. And you should also know, not all incentive programs run through the same program year. Some open January, close in November. Some open in May, close it, you know, the following May. It is all over the place, which is why our database is so highly used, right? In the incentives go unclaimed, have you seen those funds will roll over? This is why it's important to also use IncentiFind, why a lot of large corporations are choosing to use IncentiFind, because we are the only database to house these incentives. We are also the only resource for state and local governments to know what the market interest and demand is for going green. What do we do with that information? We anonymize all data that comes into IncentiFind, and we tell, hey, City of St. Louis, you should know that there were this many commercial projects that were looking for this type of incentive program that you don't offer. Wouldn't you like to offer that? Or, you know, hey, City of St. Louis, this many commercial projects we're looking for this type of incentive program, and it always runs out in June. Would you like to offer more funds in that? We're really trying, by using IncentiFind, we're trying to get that market interest and demand back out to local governments so that they can offer better programs year over year. So if you also want to use IncentiFind to inform our market transformation through incentives, it's another great reason to use us. Folks, I see that we are at time. Hold on. Let me answer this one question. If you've got to dive off, remember you're going to get a recording of this. Is this being recorded? Oh, yes, absolutely. This is being recorded, and we will, if you registered for our webinar, you're going to get this recording tomorrow. It's 24 hours later that it's sent. If you know that somebody was supposed to attend this webinar and you don't see them on there, that's okay. You don't have to be an attendee to receive the recording. You can just have registered and we'll send it out. Once you get the recording, yes, you can share it with your whole team. There's no password on it or anything like that. So feel free to pass it along. We're going to see you next month. So if any of you are still on the line, send us an asset you want to see. Send us a part of the country you want to see. We're really excited to show you guys what's out there. So, all right, stay safe, and we'll talk to you guys next month. Bye-bye.